Good morning. It's a beautiful day out. A little cloudy, cloud cover. Supposed to get some rain this afternoon, and it's not as cold. Still about, I don't know, probably 49, 50 degrees. Good hiking weather. Now, what would they have thought 170 years ago if they had topped the crest of these hills, seen this? One of the reasons it's so hard to reimagine what these travelers felt and experienced back then. They would have been traveling across Tallgrass Prairie. After Moline, they broke camp. They entered into a whole different landscape. They'd gone past the Chautauqua Hills. They were now entering Tallgrass Prairie country again. Tallgrass Prairie once extended from Texas down near Mexico up through Oklahoma and Kansas and all the way up into Canada. And today, really only a very small portion of Tallgrass Prairie remains in the world. In those days, they would have gone for days and days through this. In fact, they'll be in this all the way up until they hit the Santa Fe Trail and beyond. Being the first wagons through on this route guaranteed them good grass for their stock to eat as they came through. John Van Tramp in Life in the West Prairie wrote it this way: "This country was formerly known among the overland travelers to the Oregon and California as tallgrass. The blade is coarse and rough at its edges, like the grass in Illinois. It ordinarily attains a height of 3 feet toward the close of summer. But when the land is moist, it grows more luxuriant, said to become tall enough to hide from view the horse and its rider." I do wonder if they encountered water problems. This old dry creek bed, there's a little standing puddle here, but it goes on and there's not much. I have not encountered a lot of water sources on this trail. Just as wide as the Kansas prairie is, so is the Kansas sky. And it is beautiful. When I left Moline, we had come through the Chautauqua Hills. Then they paused, they had the day off, took a zero on Sunday. Somehow got this idea of perseverance, and I'm sure they realized that that's what they would need to continue this journey, perseverance. So when I left there, coming out of the hills, came into this broad prairie area. And this would have been filled with prairie tall grass, had plenty of food for their livestock as they traveled across this way, but it would have been flat. And just as this front has moved in on us now, yesterday the temperature went from about 60 degrees to 45 degrees in, 3 hours. And then it started raining, and it was just miserable. And as I'm walking, I come up on a bicycle race. There had to be 50 or more bicycles out on the county roads, on these gravel roads, and learned that one young lady had taken a bad fall, broke her pelvis. So, it reminds me that you've got to be careful out here. It's out here. There's not a whole lot of people around. Been hiking all day today, and I think I've seen 3 cars pass. So yeah, it's out here. Now, this beautiful prairie just opens up and continues to go on and on. As I get close to Leon, we'll be entering into the Flint Hills country again, and once again back into some of the beauties of that area. I think the Flint Hills is my favorite spot in Kansas. It's just beautiful, especially this time of year when everything turns green. It's just emerald green. If you saw my videos of the Flint Hills Trail, you can see just how green it gets. If you haven't seen it, you ought to go and check it out and see the beauties of this place. Big sky, windy day, but that's okay. I'm gonna turn my back to the wind, so maybe it won't be quite so much wind noise, but on the 8th day of their journey, they stopped at the Arkansas Creek, just west of today where Beaumont is, and spent the night. Then they continued traveling north. Now I'm going a little further west, simply because if I go like they did, or in the general direction they did, I'm going to come to US 400, and I'm going to have to hike down that busy highway for about 8 miles. So I'm going to stay on county roads. I'm going to come over to the west a little bit more than they did, and then go up into Leon. Well, this sign certainly wasn't here 170 years ago, but I think it's fitting with the lesson of perseverance. These winds are gusting to 40 miles an hour today, and the gust is really just sort of a constant blow. So I've been walking north into it. The wind's coming out of the northwest, and that sort of adds to the labor of the hike. Leon, Kansas. Well, hey y'all, good morning. I'm leaving Leon. That's Leon behind me. I have gone 100 miles on this trail. Have about 76 miles to go. And today, going from Leon up to El Dorado, about 12 miles, not bad. And so on this journey, it's been interesting. Now this is sort of the bypass so that I could escape walking down a really busy highway. And now I'll be cutting up through here and intersecting the Cherokee Trail again, about 6 miles. Well, got a whole bunch of you. Got a whole bunch of you coming over. Right there. Hello. Hello. It was 1850.
1850.
The second year of the trail, because it started in 1849. But now there's some service entrepreneurship on the trail.
Right.
Because we've got this way station here.
Yeah, it was built as a way station. The shopkeepers slept upstairs. I assume in the winter, because in the summer, I imagine it was so hot he probably slept outside.
Yeah.
and but there was a ladder going up to where he could sleep upstairs, and there was a wood stove. I've given you a couple pictures of what it looked like before it was ever added on to.
Yeah.
And yeah, 1850. It was a pretty tough time, I would assume. Yeah, I'm sure it was a welcome. Well, just to see somebody besides your party
Absolutely.
would be.
Oh,
Brian has doused, there's 10 sets of wagon tracks come in the southeast corner of our place, and then one set that comes up here to the way station. The others go in our southeast corner, and then below the hilltop, right south of the hilltop, they cross and then go on down to the Walnut Crossing.
That was then, and then what's the history of it up to now?
Well, it was in the same family for 110 years, from the Aikmans to the Ewings to the Shorts to the Deckers, and then they bought it in 1905, and we bought it in 2015. Mr. Ewing was a businessman in town, and he liked to come out just to get out of town, 2 miles.
Yeah.
And I think he was the one, he called it a sleeping room on the south, and then they built a little kitchen on the east. That was in the 30s. And then they also built this porch we're sitting on and the fireplace. And then in the 50s, they extended both of the additions.
Okay.
They added on to the bed, the sleep.
Here it is, right up here.
Oh,
So
yeah.
there's grass the whole way, or weed, or whatever. And then you get to this area
Huh. And it's just rock.
to where there isn't anything. Now Bob thinks maybe they all kind of crossed right in here.
So as this chapter of their journey comes to an end, they began to prepare for the next chapter, for the crossing.